Hi, this is Tim from fitatmidlife.com. Today, I've got the Reebok Nano X, the newest cross trainer from Reebok for the year 2020. We're going to compare it to the Nike Free Metcon 3, another shoe that is new for the year 2020. Both are meant for CrossFit style, functional fitness training. Which shoe is the right one for you? That's what we're going to talk about, so stick around. All right, first, let's take a look at the Reebok Nano X. So this is a cross-training shoe. What does that mean? It means a flat, all-rubber outsole. It means a minimum of cushion, great for lifting weights, with still some ability to run. It is meant to be tough, built like a tank. So let's take an in-depth look at all those features. So first of all, let's look at the outsole. This is the part where the rubber meets the road, and indeed, this is an all-rubber outsole, very tough. This will likely last a long time. Rubber will break down over time, but compared to a shoe with foam exposed on the bottom, this will last quite a good time. In particular, the Reebok Nano X has what is described as a decoupled outsole. So you can see there's a split there in the rubber, there's a split here. The idea is that when you heel strike, the shock will not be transferred as readily to the remainder of your foot in the shoe. That is what a decoupled outsole is for. This is a very grippy, very flat. There is not a ton of tread depth here because this is meant for indoors on the concrete, in the gym, in the box. Maximum surface area, maximum traction. We're not really worried about running on trails and mud and dirt and things like that. Certainly you can wear these outside with this very tough rubber outsole, but it's definitely meant for maximum surface area on the floor, in my opinion. The other thing you'll notice here, they call it Metasplit. I believe that's referring to the decoupled outsole. And you'll also notice that the Nano X, like the Nano 9, is labeled Rope Pro here, where that tough rubber outsole wraps up around at the midfoot. This is meant for gripping the rope in the rope climb. This very tough outsole material will not degrade due to the friction with the rope. You also have this tough rubber protection wrap that comes up high, protects the upper, again, for rope climbs. That rubber protection wrap continues around the heel, around to the other side, and you can see that this makes for a very tough shoe. This is rubber. It's quite firm. This should last quite a long time. What you can't see here from this view is the midsole, right? So the outsole's the outside part. Directly above that is the midsole. It's on the interior of the shoe, and that is where the cushioning is, or the lack thereof. So this is a cross trainer. It is meant for a variety of activities. It is meant to be versatile. You can lift heavy weights in this. The heel is very stable. There is minimal cushioning in the heel. There's a little bit of cushioning, not a ton. The forefoot doesn't have a ton of cushioning either. It is a reasonably flexible shoe. And basically, yeah, the midsole is not a ton of cushion, but that's what you want and expect in a cross trainer. There is a thin drop-in insole that really, tiny bit of cushion here. This is, it's not paper thin, but it's not super thick either. So this doesn't really add a ton of cushion or anything like that. Inside the shoe, with the insole out, you can kind of see it's just regular basic material there and minimal cushioning. That's what it's all about. Let's talk about the upper. So that includes this flex weave material. This is a newer version of flex weave that was on the Nano 9. It is in fact a dual layer material, so you can in fact see that you can see my finger through there. So there's the flex weave on the outside. On the inside is this very comfortable, stretchy material that they use to make, like, there's an inner booty to these shoes. So I think you can see that pretty well there. Very comfortable, right? So your foot is on the inside. It's cradled with this. It fits nice. The upper really hugs your foot, and this is a very comfortable shoe in the upper. The cushioning on the bottom, it's not a super cushioned shoe, but the comfort on the upper is very nice. This is very tough. the flex weave. The other thing I like about the flex weave is with the Nano X, it looks much, much better than the Nano 9 or the Nano 8. It looks, there's like a design there, there's some style to it, and so on. We've got regular laces, make the shoe as tight or as loose as you like. And you'll notice, looking around here, this inner part, the inner booty, comes up quite high now. So you've got this really exaggerated heel pad. This is very different than what was in the Nano 9. So it comes up higher, feels good. The inside of the collar is actually, there's dense foam. It starts here. It runs all the way around. That's foam all the way to here. Very comfortable right around your ankle. They have dialed back the cushioning on the tongue compared to last year. The Nano 9 had a very pillow-like tongue. This one, it's thin in the middle, thin up front. You've got these two bolsters that stop right here. If you tighten these too much, if you over-tighten them, you can feel the lace bite because it's right under the bolsters. But the solution is simple. Just don't tighten them quite so much, and then it feels fine. The heel, this is relatively unchanged from the Nano 9. Very firm. There's some sort of tough plastic heel cup in there. And again, coming around this side, you can see this cage or this exoskeleton that kind of wraps around the shoe and integrates with the laces. You'll notice it no longer says CrossFit. It is just simply the Reebok Nano X, but clearly, still a shoe meant for CrossFit training. Looks good, feels good. It has added some weight compared to the Nano 9. This is 14.4 ounces for a men's size 11. So it has gained almost a full ounce over last year's shoe. Where did that weight come from? I guess this part, really, it feels pretty similar to the Nano 9 in a lot of ways. The upper looks better. This part's more comfortable, but it feels bulkier too, right? Because you've got this hugging your ankle now. Not a bad thing necessarily, but it definitely feels like you're wearing more shoe. The tongue is stretchy now. So it's just a little bit more comfortable. It just kind of helps with that whole sensation that this is like hugging your foot in a very comfortable fashion. So overall, I like these. Haven't had them too long, but again, it feels a lot like the Nano 9. And I can tell you they are fine for lifting weights, very stable in the heel. The cushioning to me feels unchanged from what was in the Nano 9. They are, cross trainers. They're not a stellar running shoe. There's just not a ton of cushion in them. And that is just standard practice with cross trainers. The only other feature that I believe is new with the Nano X is I showed you the decoupled outsole. I found a document on the web about the evolution of the shoe where they claim there's also a decoupled midsole. So this is the outsole. The midsole would be on the inside. I obviously can't show you that because I'd have to destroy the shoe. If there's a decoupled midsole there, it does not make a difference that I can feel personally. But, maybe somebody else can. So that's our tour of the Reebok Nano X. All right, now let's take a look at the Nike Free Metcon 3. So this is a shoe that is meant to combine Nike's Metcon shoe line with the Free running shoe line. What does that mean? That's what we'll talk about in depth here. So you can see it's kind of got a radical look to it. Looks a bit peculiar. Let's talk about whether that really makes a difference though. So let's start by looking at the outsole. So you'll notice the heel, that is quite flat, quite wide, but you'll notice too that the forefoot is not flat. So if we angle it here, you can see the waves, not flat. It's got kind of a rippled bottom to it. I would describe it that way. And flex grooves, right? Really deep, wide flex grooves. And this shoe has more forefoot flexibility than your average cross trainer as a result. And that, of course, is a feature of the Free running line. So the Free running line is meant to replicate the feel of barefoot running. So in the past, they've always had siping or flex grooves that are radically large to really give you more flexibility, just like your foot would have. In the past, they've featured flexibility across both the width and the length, it feels to me like in this version of the shoe, it's not as effective as flexing across the width as compared to the Nike Free X Metcon 2. The other thing I find a bit disconcerting about this is just that hollowed out area, if you will. In this shoe, this part of the sole, outsole, does not actually even touch the ground. Not when you're on a flat surface like concrete. The heel, though, very wide, very flat. And at first glance, you might think, well, how in the heck can you run in this thing? But you'll notice the heel is actually, it's curved up there. So it's actually not too bad. You definitely can run in these. And they do have more cushion than your average cross trainer. So I can confirm that as well. So all of this material being foam, right? The gray material is firm, durable rubber. This part is rubber, this is foam. So in the foam, you get some flex, you get some cushion. And it does have more cushion in the heel and the forefoot than the Nike Metcon 5. And it's probably equivalent to what was in the Free X Metcon 2. That's kind of subjective, though. It's really hard to measure the amount of cushion. And that, of course, is also provided via the midsole, which is the interior of the shoe above the outsole. And I can't show you that, right, because you can't really take the midsole out. There is this thin drop-in insole, very thin, doesn't do much, adds a tiny microscopic amount of cushion, if anything. The other interesting thing with this is just with that super wide heel, you'll also notice, look how high that foam comes up. And it's hard to show you, but like it cradles your foot. Like it comes up to there. Like that cradles your foot. The side-to-side stability in this is a notch above what it is in the other Metcon shoes. I can tell you that for sure, because your foot sits down in that valley. Heel cup, there's plastic in there. It's not super rigid. We've got a pull tab, makes it easier to take it on and off. Similarly, up front, there's not really a tongue. We get the mesh upper. This is a 2-layer. There's an inner flexi layer and there's an outside meshy layer. Very comfortable. Hugs your foot. There's a little bit of a protection wrap here around the toe. And of course, you can see the outsole comes up around as a toe guard as well. Regular laces, love them, right? Make it as tight or as loose as you want. No problems. They stay secure. And it says Nike Free there along the pseudo tongue. Comes up high, comfortable. Not a whole lot going on in the inside. There's a little bit of foam padding here around the collar to about that point, but that's pretty much it. So overall, this is lighter weight than some of the other Metcon shoes because this is 12.2 ounces for a men's size 11. So it has not gone up in weight from the Free X Metcon 2. It feels bulky because of that heel and because of the aesthetics. But once you put it on, I mean, you can run in this just fine. You can lift in it. You can do, all this other stuff. It's got great flexibility in the forefoot compared to other cross trainers. So it works, and it does have good side-to-side stability as well because of these sides that come up high. It does have more cushion than the Metcon 5 though, but not so much that you can be like, you can't lift heavy in this thing. I don't want to do any barbell exercises because it's not stable enough. It's too mushy. Nothing like that. It's a little bit disconcerting that you can see daylight under the center, but if you think about it really, your foot is not collapsing in or anything like that. If you're lifting that much weight, you're like breaking bones or something. So that may be more of a mental thing than anything else. But on the other hand, have you ever heard of a weightlifting shoe that had like air under the center, the midfoot? Kind of weird, but not a showstopper. I will say comfortable to wear. The upper, also the fact that they've got a little bit more cushioning and the fact that they're fairly lightweight, they're breathable. Overall, not bad, but they are definitely a different feeling than last year's Free X Metcon 2 because so much more structure with the higher sides, and they don't have the glorious width that the Free X Metcon 2 had. These run true to size. Men's size 11 fits me perfectly, and that's the Free Metcon 3. All right, so now let's compare them head to head. We'll start with the outsoles. So the Nano, very flat, maximum contact area, no grooves, no ridges, no weird wave-like bottom to it. Unlike the free Metcon, right, it's got kind of a weirder kind of look and feel going on. Heels in both, both is a stable, firm heel, right, and that's the part that matters for the squats and the deadlifts and the snatches and clean and jerk and all that stuff. Both feel like they're adequately supportive for weightlifting. I will give the free Metcon 3 is more easy to flex in the forefoot flexibility for sure. And it just looks, again, it looks a little odd because of that weird kind of notch. But, that would be the equivalent of the Rope Pro, which is the rope climbing wraparound area. That's really what this is, I believe, right? So they've kind of hollowed it out so you could grip the rope on the inside a little bit better. And this is foam, but this is fairly tough. It's not as tough as rubber, though, right? You can feel that this is tougher. This doesn't feel as tough, so I don't know if this would be as good. And then this mesh is fairly, I don't want to say weak, but it's not going to resist abrasion as well as like this combination. And then the upper part on the Metcon, or excuse me, the Nano X this feels really tough to me. So I don't think the free Metcon 3 is the rope climber's choice. But, as we discussed, though, this has more cushion in the heel and the forefoot than the Nano X does. Nano X feels very much like the Nano 9, which would be minimal cushioning. Very stable, very firm. You can run in it, right? I mean, I wouldn't go run a marathon in these. I wouldn't train for running in cross trainers either. I would get real running shoes. You can run, but you wouldn't do long runs in these. These have more cushion, yes. I wouldn't train for a marathon in these either, though, right? Because they're still cross trainers and they don't have a super amount of cushioning. These are more comfortable if you have to walk for a while, stand, be on your feet. Noticeably more cushioning as compared to the Nano X. Upper in both is very comfortable. Both hug your foot, feels really good. I love the stretchy tongue and that booty interior, the flexy material. This really feels like you're slipping on a slipper in the upper, but then it's kind of harsh because of the minimal cushioning. Whereas this shoe cradles, very nice, cradles firm fit on your top of your foot, and then it feels just a tiny bit more comfortable because you've got more cushioning underfoot. Weight 12.2 ounces, 14.4, so pretty significant difference in the weight between the two shoes. All things considered, I'll take a lighter shoe over a heavier shoe, especially if I'm going to have to run and jump and all that kind of stuff in it. Both have laces, so both work adequately there. I will say, as I mentioned, just due to the way the Nano X is, if you tighten it too much, you'll definitely get some lace bite. It's harder to do that on this shoe, but that's really just don't tighten it so much then. Both easy to put on, take off. You can see the collars and the Achilles pad comes up quite high in both shoes. So similar in some ways, very different in others. Heel to toe drop, they haven't published numbers on either of these shoes, which is frustrating. These, I think, are 4 millimeter like the Nano 9 were. These, I think, are 6 millimeter like the Free X Metcon 2 was. So neither has a crazy amount of heel to toe drop, as you would expect in a cross trainer, right? They're low profile, they're minimal drop to be versatile shoes for training. So true to size, both of them. The Nano X would be better for those with wide feet. I'm not going to measure it here, but there is more width in the toe box on the Nano X as compared to the Free Metcon 3. Little disappointed in that this isn't as wide as the Free X Metcon 2 was, which was last year's free shoe. That was really wide, almost to the equivalent of the Nano line. Nano keeps it though, that's good, makes it very comfortable. If you got wide feet, Nano X is probably what I would recommend. Overall, again, more cushion, more comfort for standing and walking long distances. Probably a slightly better running shoe because of those same factors as well. Lighter, little bit more cushion. The weird looking heel is not as horrible as it seems because that's, you can kind of land like that. It's not a big deal. This less cushion, very comfortable upper though. Definitely stable for lifting heavy weights. This might be your choice if you lift barbells more than you run and that kind of stuff. In either case, I'm happy with both of the shoes. But then again, I'm the guy that owns at this point I have like 75 pairs of shoes. So you could say I probably like everything. So anyways, I hope that is helpful. That is our comparison. If you like this sort of thing, please please subscribe. We post new shoe reviews regularly. Thank you. Have a good day.